People in Egypt thought of their pharaohs as gods. They were in charge of one of the world's first great civilizations and lived in the lap of luxury. Their kingdom was the biggest the world had ever seen. They ate honey and milk. A lot of people died while making images of them. In the end of their lives, they were buried in things that have been around for more than 4,000 years. That kind of power had never been seen before. No one had ever explored the new world of absolute power and wealth like the pharaohs had. They were the first people to live in such luxury and power. They were having the best time of their lives ever, and sometimes they got too excited.
Sesostris' giant genital monuments. Sesostris was widely regarded as one of the supreme military commanders in the annals of Egyptian history. Through the deployment of vessels and warriors to every nook and cranny of the known world, he expanded the boundaries of his kingdom to an extent that had never been seen before, and after each victory, he celebrated his accomplishments by erecting a large monument that included a depiction of the genital organs of a different person. Pillars were left by Sesostris at the locations of each and every battleground. These were, for the most part, etched with the typical boasting that he was known for, who he was, how he had defeated his adversaries, and how certain he was that the gods were in favor of his program of invading everyone. Nevertheless, Sesostris left a little extra mark that behaved in a manner that was something similar to a review of the attacking army. It would be engraved with a picture of a penis if they were strong and had battled bravely, and he would do this if they were. On the other hand, he would carve a picture of a vagina if they did not put up much of a fight toward. Not only were these pillars scattered all throughout the continent, but they also managed to withstand the test of time. Herodotus observed firsthand some of the monuments that Sesostris had constructed. They were still standing in Syria, carved with the genitals of failure, even though they had been erected more than 1,000 years ago. Pharoahs' urine baths. Pharoahs, the son of Sesostris, was unable to see. It is quite probable that he had inherited the illness from his father. Yet, the official Egyptian narrative was that he had been cursed during his lifetime. According to the legend, Pharoahs became frustrated with the Nile because it refused to cooperate due to the fact that it was flooding. He then proceeded to throw a spear at the river, supposing that this was the most likely method for causing water to flow downhill. As a result of his disobedience, the gods struck him blind. Another 10 years later, an oracle revealed to Pharoahs that he had the ability to regain his sight. She informed him that all he needed to do was wipe his eyes with the urine of a lady who had never involved herself in sexual activity with anybody other than her spouse. However, Pharoahs attempted to use his wife's, but it was unsuccessful. Despite the fact that he was still blind, his wife had some explaining to do at this point. In the beginning, however, Pharoahs gathered all of the women in the town, forced them to urinate into a pot, and then poured the urine into his eyes. It was successful. There were dozens of ladies that Pharoahs had to go through until she found one who was not cheating on her husband and who was able to restore his sight. Instantaneously, he wed her and then proceeded to burn his previous wife to death, or at least, it is the story that is told in the legend. The idea that Pharoahs was able to regain his sight through the use of magic urine is, of course, quite improbable. Maybe all he needed was a compelling tale to explain a peculiar pattern of behavior.
Hatshepsut's fake beard. She was one of the few women to ever rule Egypt, and her name was Hatshepsut. Her intentions were very ambitious. It was not going to be an easy task for her to construct some of Egypt's most amazing structures. The Egyptian government did not treat women on an equal footing with males, despite the fact that Egypt was somewhat more progressive than the other countries in the region. It was a lot of things going against her as queen. It was therefore Hatshepsut's command that her subjects always depict her in a male form. The bulging of her biceps and the fullness of her beard had to be depicted in each and every picture. In every instance in which she presented herself, she referred to herself as the son of Ra, and it is quite probable that she also sported a fake beard in her real life. She was able to accomplish a great deal while she was still living, and one of the ways she did this was by deceiving everyone into believing that she was a male. However, this plan did not work out. In the end, her son decided to erase her from history in order to conceal the fact that a woman had ever held the position of monarch. As a matter of fact, he did it so successfully that we did not even learn that she existed until the year 1903.
Amesis's fart-based diplomacy. It is not accurate to say that Amesis was the most courteous pharaoh who had occupied the throne's seat. Indeed, he was an alcoholic. He was a thief who would steal things from his pals, put them in his home, and then try to convince them that they had never possessed the items in the first place. He was a kleptomaniac. He amassed the throne via coercion. He had been dispatched by the king to put down a rebellion. However, upon his arrival, he became aware that the rebels had a fairly strong chance of triumphing. So he made the decision to take charge of them instead. Having always been a master of tact, he sent his declaration of war to the king by raising up his leg, farting and telling a messenger, "Take that back to the king." On the other hand, all of Amasis's impolite behaviors actually resulted in some significant changes. When he was a poor kleptomaniac, he was ordered to stand in front of oracles who were believed to be able to divine whether he was innocent or guilty. Oracles were asked to determine whether he was guilty or innocent. During the time that he was king, every oracle that had been deceitful and let him off the hook was punished for their action. Amasis reasoned that if they had been able to communicate with God in fact, they would have been aware that he was responsible for the crime. Aktisanes' city of noseless criminals. Amasis's folks did not tolerate him for an extended period of time. Because he was such a brutal ruler, it did not take long before he was removed from political power. The revolution was led by an Ethiopian named Aktisanes, who was determined to take a more mild approach. This time, the revolt was led by an Ethiopian. An innovative approach to dealing with criminals was proposed by Aktisanes. According to his decree, the nose of every person who committed a crime would be severed. They would then be dispatched to a location that he referred to as Rhinocolura, which literally translates to the town of cut-off noses. This town would have been a really strange place to visit if you had been there. Criminals without noses were the only people who lived there, and they were forced to fend for themselves in one of the most hostile conditions in the country. They got their sustenance from the strewn pieces of debris that they discovered laying around, and the water was tainted with contaminant. Although that may sound harsh to us today, a ruler who lived in the 6th century BC would have thought this to be the epitome of generosity. In their writings, the Romans referred to Rhinocolura as an illustration of Aktisanes' kindly manner towards his subject. Back then, if you broke the law and just lost your nose, you were getting off easy. Ramses II's 100 children. The fact that Ramses II lived for such a long time caused many to become extremely concerned that he might not pass away at all. During a period in history when the majority of kings were killed during the first few years of their reign, Ramses II survived to be 91 years old. He too took pleasure in his time on earth. Up to the very end, he was the person who constructed the most statues and monuments of anybody else. And he also had more sexual encounters with women than anyone else. Before he passed away, Ramses II had at least 9 wives and 100 children. He also had at least 100 children. In order to get there, he had to spend a lot of time sleeping with different women, but he made sure to put in the effort. Ramses II was able to marry virtually every woman he came across. During his invasion of Keita, he refused to sign a peace treaty unless they handed over their eldest daughter. He was adamant about it. When it came to his girls, he did not shy away from them either. At least 3 of his own children, including his firstborn, were married to spouses of his. He may have been married 4 times. It is not entirely clear to historians whether his wife Henetmaya was his daughter or his sister. Nevertheless, given that we are discussing Ramses II, there is no reason why the terms daughter, sister, and wife have to be mutually exclusive. Cambyses' hatred for animals. Although Cambyses was of Persian descent and the son of Cyrus the Great, he was not genuinely of Egyptian descent. However, after his nation's victory over Egypt, he was appointed to the position of head of state in Egypt. Therefore, he was the ruler of Egypt, and it would appear that he was someone who had a deep-seated hatred for animals. The Egyptians told nearly every story they had about Cambyses, and almost all of them had him destroying the life of some kind of animal. One of the first things he did was visit Apis, a bull that the Egyptians revered as a god. While he was standing in front of the priests of Apis, he drew out a knife and began stabbing the bull. He then laughed at them and exclaimed, "This is a god worthy of the Egyptians." The fact that he enjoyed picking on Egyptians was not the only reason he did this. Simply put, he enjoyed seeing animals go through pain. Over the course of his spare time, he would stage fights between lion cubs and puppies, and he would force his wife to watch as the animals tore one another apart. Akhenaten's city, built on broken backs. Completely altering Egypt was Akhenaten's reign. Before Akhenaten ascended to the throne, the Egyptians worshipped a great number of gods. However, he eliminated all of them save for one, Aten, the deity of the sun. It was a significant change in the way that Egypt was governed, and it required a great deal of effort to bring about. To the point when he literally worked his workers to death, he exerted so much effort. He erected an entirely new city which he named Amarna, in the name of his god. Regardless of how much pain their bodies were in, he relocated 20,000 people to that location and had them constructed. This group of individuals had to persevere through everything. According to the bones that were found in the local cemetery, more than 2/3 of his employees fractured a bone while they were working, and a good 1/3 of them broke their spines. The population was only marginally fed. Nearly every single person in the town was suffering from malnutrition, and they were not permitted to take any action to address the situation. On the off chance, if they deviated from their rank and attempted to steal a little something more, they were sentenced to be stabbed multiple times. All of this was for naught, of course. Everything that Akhenaten had accomplished was obliterated as soon as he passed away. His name was completely removed from the annals of Egyptian history. Menkau's refusal to die. Even a pharaoh can pass away. Despite the fact that their titles referred to them as immortal, every pharaoh was aware that his time would come. Moreover, despite the fact that they constructed pyramids with the intention of transporting them to the afterlife, each and every pharaoh must have harbored some reservations about what would occur when they finally closed their eyes for death. Menkau, a pharaoh who ruled around the 26th century BC, absolutely had his reservations about the matter. It was a terrifying experience for him when an oracle appeared to him and informed him that he just had 6 years left to save his life. He exerted every effort possible to steer clear of it. He came to the conclusion that he could deceive the god. According to Menkau's calculation, a new day would never start so long as night never arrived either. Time would not be able to pass, and he would not be able to pass away if a new day never started. Every night, he would light as many lamps as he could. He would convince himself that it was still sunlight while doing so. Menkau would not sleep for the rest of his life. He would not sleep. He was scared of the time when his light would eventually go out, so he spent every night up drinking and celebrating under artificial light.